Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. So, we have to talk about Winfield Dunn. So, Winfield Dunn, U.S. politician from the state of Oregon. I'm not, or why am I saying Oregon? From the state of Tennessee. He was the governor of Tennessee. He sadly passed away yesterday, September 20, not yesterday, 2 days ago, September 28th, 2024, at the age of 97. He, of course, we'll be talking about today. Excuse me. We're going to be talking about Governor Dunn today and his life and overall his big, long, I wouldn't say long tenure, but he definitely served as one of Tennessee's more recent first Republican governors since the GOP began to kick back into motion in a very deep blue state for the most part through its history. Governor Dunn was one of the first Republicans. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at Winfield Dunn. Yes, he was the governor of Tennessee from 1971 to 1975. And expectedly so, he served probably one term. Thinking, it's either he got as ousted because if you are a Republican being elected in Tennessee as a Republican, good for you, I guess. But you lucked out really good, very bigly by, I wouldn't say bigly, you lucked out really a lot by being elected governor of the state of Tennessee. And as a result, but can you win re-election? Well, you would have to be really, really, really popular. As you can see here, very popular in order to be reelected in as a Republican in the state of Tennessee. And ultimately, did he seek reelection? Well, we got to see. So, in his early years in politics, he was inspired by Barry Goldwater's view on conservatism. Barry Goldwater has a more libertarian, I wouldn't say far right, but this time the term far right, I would say far right libertarian conservative view. Um, Mr. Dunn did run it unsuccessfully for the Tennessee House of Representatives in 1962, and he was also elected chairman of the Shelby County Republican Party in Shelby County. That's where Memphis, Tennessee is. He also campaigned for Goldwater in that said Tennessee area. Goldwater ultimately didn't win Tennessee, and Mr. Dunn. Dunn also was a delegate in the 1968 Republican National Convention and campaigned for the eventual nominee Richard Nixon. So, yes, taking a look at the 1970 Tennessee gubernatorial election, though, you'll see, okay, ever since losing that seat when it comes to being elected to the House of Representatives in Tennessee, that was pretty much the bulk of it all. Other than that, Mr. Winfield Dunn has done really, really well. You'll see he defeated John J. Hooker for the governor's seat. So with this win, Dunn became the first Republican to win a Tennessee gubernatorial election in 50 years. Impressive, right? I mean, he was the first Republican since going all the way back 50 years. I would be like the early 1900s. And even in the early 1900s, you don't see Republicans being elected as governor in the early 1900s unless it's Reconstruction, which we know in the early 1900s, Reconstruction period was far from over. So yeah, Dunn, you'll see 1920, yeah, the last Republican to be elected governor in the said state was Alfred A. Taylor. It can happen. It definitely can happen. But that Republican, just like in blue states today, that Republican has to modify his or her belief, to the current state politics. Like Larry Hogan, for example. Larry Hogan just came out and said he's not voting for Donald Trump, that Donald Trump doesn't reflect his views. And I don't blame him for that, honestly. I can honestly tell you, I would rather him literally say, I'm not voting for Trump, because the reason being, that's in a state like Maryland, where a comment like that can easily destroy your base. It's a deep blue state, and you want to do well. And usually moderate Republicans do well. In said deep blue states. And that's why uh, Larry Hogan says, hey, if I endorse Donald Trump, that most likely will hurt my Senate campaign. That's sort of the deal. So Alfred A. Taylor, who knows? He probably believes in the Southern strategy, the segregation and all that stuff. That's kind of, you have to embrace that sort of Democrat Southern like style beliefs in order to grab voters. But yeah, I'm getting distracted. But going all the way back to the Senator Governor Dunn, he is elected governor by a very, very small margin, as you should see here. We'll just go back. Yeah, Winfield Dunn. He defeated John J. Hooker. Hooker was a perennial candidate. And yeah, he is 80. Okay, he died recently, but I think he's a moderate, actually, a pretty big moderate. But yeah, you'll see. Yeah, I recognize this guy because he ran against Don Sundquist, who died last year. Uh, I, yeah, you'll see Winfield Dunn defeated Hooker, which he performed much better in this election because then again, Tennessee was much more blue in the 70s than in the 90s. Even though in the 90s, it voted in 2 presidential elections. In the 70s, it voted in 1 out of 2 elections. Thanks, Richard Nixon. I mean, and then in 1974, Winfield uh, Winfield Dunn was ineligible to run for re-election. I did not know this, but in Tennessee, you have a one-term limit, sort of like Virginia at the time, and that's sort of noticeable towards like Kentucky. Same deal with Kentucky at the time. So Kentucky, Virginia, Tennessee. So yeah, 1 term per governor. So Winfield Dunn couldn't run for re-election. So that stress of doing a good job as governor, there's no pressure. You're like, okay, I have to have a stable approval rating so I can feel confident in running for re-election. That's not present. So I think Winfield Dunn did what he felt through his gut he needed to do without that burden of feeling, oh, I got to do a good job running for re-election. So that's the positive thing about it. You don't have that pressure. So you feel like, oh, I can be a commander and lead the state without feeling disapproved. So ultimately, Winfield Dunn leaves office, and let's see. Yeah, and then he decides to run again. There's no real. So yeah, Dunn's term ended in 1975. At the time, the Constitution of Tennessee barred governors from serving consecutive terms. He returned to the private sector, working for several years as the vice president of public relations for the Nashville-based Hospital Corporation of America. In 1986, Dunn once again ran for governor. He easily defeated Hubert Patty and Charles Vick in the Republican primary. Good for you, but questions over party unity dodged his campaign. But his first term, during his first term, now it's going over. Basically the same deal. But yeah, he was defeated in this election. Uh, I really did Dunn do a good job as governor? I don't know. But yes, you'll see Ned McWhirter managed to prevent Winfield Dunn from kind of creating that momentum he once had during the 70s. Here, Ned McWhirter won the election by 54.26%, 9-point advantage and win against the Republican Winfield Dunn here. So this was a big defeat for Winfield Dunn, ultimately sending him home packing. Even though a successful victory in the Republican primary, 94.23%, Dunn was handily defeated. And it just seems that for years overwhelmingly. Sure, I mean, part of the reason probably he was defeated was the Republicans had held the governor's mansion already. And the pendulum always uh, turns the other direction to the opposite party that's in the mansion or in office right now. So with Republicans being in the office, it only made sense that the pendulum would go in favor for Democrats, since the Republicans control the government, and everything that went on was credited and blamed for the Republicans. So yes, no surprise here. Ned McWhorter wins in a blue state when it comes to gubernatorial races at the time. Winfield Dunn has failed in winning a non-consecutive term as governor, and it seems after that he's like accepted the fact, okay, I've been governor, it's fine, and he ends up retiring from politics. Yeah, it says he's remained an elder statesman in the state Republican Party. He was the chair of the state steering committee of the presidential campaign of George H.W. Bush in 1988, and was an elector of George W. Bush in 2004 and John McCain in 2008. In December 2011, he endorsed the eventual 2012 Republican presidential nominee, Mitt Romney. Romney said of Dunn, no one is more highly regarded of his love of country and his public service. Dunn, of course, died 2 days ago. So, as it would go on to explain. So, anyway, that includes Winfield Dunn. What do you guys think in regards to Mr. Dunn? Let me know down below. Rest in peace, Winfield Dunn. As always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.